All right, so here we are, continuing on. I was poking around, and here, dedicated and focused. It's more, it's more about about speed. So I not only truncated that sentence, but I also created a visual word that was more about speed. Um, so that made it a little clearer. And then I was minutes away from freedom and merely sat. Well, I said mere earlier, but I could say and just sitting. I was minutes away from freedom, sitting at my brother's desk waiting for the bell to ring. All right, so now here slamming heads, and obviously I'm sharing a lot. Um, Something to consider as well. However, I think this is interesting because the other stories that I talked about or that we could have talked about, they were interesting. Um, but I think this one is really, really rare. Um, Even though I'm sharing something sort of, negative societally and just negative personally, it's it shows how rare, because it is really, really rare to be able to pull this off for two, even students that kind of look alike. Um, but the only people that would have been able to pull it off were us. So I could, you know, I feel like it's kind of um, not required that I share this story in this type of essay, but I think that it shows a lot, how unique being an identical twin was. And yeah, we did, that's a big time crossing of the line. Um, and looking back, perhaps I wouldn't have done it. Um, but it is what it is. I'm sure we've all made mistakes when we were younger, and we've all been a little bit wild at times, at least in some ways. And this was our wildness as youth. I mean, yeah. So um, we got pretty good grades, right? Um, but yeah. So yeah, I just thought that that would be an interesting sort of snapshot of being an identical twin. Like here's, so all right. So let's go over. Scroll back down here. Okay, so performances. All right. Uh, while we didn't use our heads very intelligently, and I can use the word cheat here by electing to cheat um, for one another on a math test. Well, we didn't really cheat for one another. I cheated for him. Um, by electing to switch classes in high school for the purposes. Again, this is the transition sentence, the connection between the previous paragraph and the next paragraph. Well, we didn't use our heads very intelligent by electing to switch classes in high school for the purposes of cheating. Nevertheless, because it still was cheating. Even though you could say whatever you want, but it was bottom line cheating. Like, so that's what I'll articulate here. I didn't mention that exact word. So from a standpoint of being interesting, I think we've like sort of built up to that word. Sort of, the writer admitting it and blatantly taking ownership. And so yeah, a lot of it's the presentation, right, of what words you decide to pick. So even there, we didn't mention the word cheating because it was more focused on the fun and the humor and the interesting uniqueness of being able to pull this off at such a young age and pull it off, in front of adults. And we didn't pull it off because adults aren't that dumb. So we got in trouble. And then here, the reveal of the word cheating. So even small choices like this, I think, have a very, they can really add up. And then when the reader reads your essay, it's like, wow, this is really well thought out. So that's why I wanted these videos to be really thorough. Is I really think that even little things like choosing the word cheating, waiting until after the story is over, um, I think that it can have a powerful effect. But you have to know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And I think a lot of practice is really helpful. So while we didn't use it for like switch classes in high school for the purpose of cheating, nevertheless, we did use our heads in a constructive and creative manner together by trying out for and winning parts in school plays. In our school plays, we'll just mention school plays. We could mention lip syncs, but let's focus on school plays right now. Maybe we'll skip lip syncs. I think school plays are funny because we're twins and it's on stage. Lip syncs are kind of funny, but it doesn't really add. The fact that we're twins doesn't really add to that experience. I mean, I guess it kind of does. Um, and that's a totally separate like essay. We could write a total other essay about our lip syncs. But I think for the reader, for this essay, it's very interesting for an audience member to watch like a play and seeing twins, especially the fact that our director was really sort of creative about how he placed us in these plays, largely just based on the material. So we're trying out for winning parts in our school plays. Yes, ever since 8th grade, we had, was it 8th grade or 9th? I don't even remember. Yes, I don't want to say yes because we said no at the very, very beginning, and it's kind of colloquial. It's sort of conversational, like, so we still want to be sort of elevated. So let's say we're trying out for and winning parts in our school plays. Our director, our theater maestro and director, Mr. Robertson, first discovered us. First, not discovered like we were some huge talents. First, found us in his auditions for a Neil Simon comedy called A Gap in. Actually, it wasn't A Gap in Generations. Yeah, it was A Gap in Generations. Yes. Found us in his audition. Found us. When we were in, I think it was 9th grade. I feel like it was in 9th grade because I think he was the high school. He was the high school theater director. It might have been 8th, but I just for some reason I think it was in 9th. Ninth grade. There was a part where 2 court jesters from each of the play's central families Mr. Robertson saw the comedy potential immediately. We were a hit with crowds. oftentimes performing, or not oftentimes, it wasn't like we had this huge long show, but we could say we were hit most notably with some of the younger elementary school and middle school crowds that we performed for. Central reason is we had a scene where we crossed paths and we sort of take a long time looking at each other. This is tough to explain. So I'm trying to explain that we have this scene where we look at each other and we slowly like make these hand movements, and the audience is laughing because they're like, wow, these guys are twins. They probably noted that we were twins, in other scenes. And then like later on in the play, we end up, it ends up being obvious that we're twins. And so we're taking a long time looking at each other. And thinking the same thing. This guy looks like me. Audiences. I'll say not hired because we're not getting paid, so we could say granted us both parts in I'm going to say school theater maestro and director. I'll say our school's theater director. I really did like this guy. He was awesome. But it's a bit effusive. Okay, so audiences appreciated the might have been that we shared a scene, right? So using vivid descriptive verbs is better than just sort of non-descriptive verbs. So we share a scene. And sort of, well, let's just cut that. And we take some time looking at each other and clearly thinking the same thing. Let's do comma, clearly. This guy looks like me. So each of the plays different so let's see if this sounds clear. There's a part for two court jesters from each of the play's central families. The blank and the blank. Yeah, so I'll look that up because then it makes it really clear that they're two distinct families that were each in different families. So I could even make it clear, even though he's the jester from a different family, this guy looks just like me. Audience appreciated the scene, and we we created an exit, hop, skip, and jump that mirrored one another's. Let's save the reveal of audiences appreciating the scene until after. We did mention that we already hit with crowds, but we can say that the scenes end that mirrored one another. So when I skipped off stage to the right, and he skipped again, we can clean this up later, to the left. He performed. And then we can also say other plays. The Wiz, musical chops, Chris's musical chops, because I didn't sing. And then what else? What rumors? Neil Simon again. Yeah, and then Neil Simon's rumors. I don't know if we had another play. I think it was just 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. I don't know if, like, maybe senior year. Thinking more about college, or I don't remember. But these are the plays that I remember. Oh yeah, we had another play. It was called it was like a bandbox review. It was called Into the Woods. I think it was called Into the Woods. Yeah, I think that was 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. Yeah, I believe so. Yes. All right. Okay, this is a good start. We'll finish up this paragraph in the next video.